This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumberyard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumberyard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Each week, we are committed to providing you with retirement planning solutions, and Tom, we ended last week's show with a really powerful question, and I just want to represent what that was because it was really the inspiration, if you will, for a lot of what we're going to be covering on today's show. We're going to be talking a lot specifically about women in retirement today. We're also going to be giving you some solid tips for your retirement planning, regardless of how much money you have saved up. And so this question last week, Tom, do you remember what I'm referencing?
Yeah, it was the lady that only had $50,000, right?
And, we talked a lot about this, you and I as well, that whether you have 50,000 or you have 500,000 or 50 million, right? It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's your money. It's important to you. And you are a problem solver. What I love is that you take the resources that people bring in when they meet with you and your team, and you figure out how to create a plan that works for them. But I thought it was really interesting because this recent article came out in Goldman Sachs that actually stated that more than 1 in 4 women retire with less than 50,000, which made me think of our friend that had that question last week.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this is not an uncommon occurrence. In the past week, as of right now, when we're making this show, I've had that question of a lady who had $50,000. I've had a lady who was in my office who had $500,000. And I had a Zoom call with a lady who's going to start working with us, we feel, and she's got over 5 million. So whether it's 50,000, 500,000, 5 million, financial planning for ladies is so important. Now, I don't know if you even know, Kristin, but I have literally taught advisors over the last 5 years the strategic importance of financial planning for women.
Oh, I know you have, because I have as well.
Yeah, I know. Because here's the deal. I always start by saying financial planning for women is more important than it is for men. Do you know why? And the audience always says what, Kristin?
They say because we live longer.
Exactly. And if you're going to live longer, and two, if you're married, which, 60% of the people out there are married that listen to this show, we found from statistics, if you're married and you're usually married on average to a guy, ladies, who's about 2 to 3 years older than you are, and he's going to die about 5 to 7 years sooner than you. So if you go from the minimum to the maximum, you got about 7 to 10 years at the end of life. You may be alone piloting the financial engine of your retirement. And if it's not going to work and you don't have a plan and you don't have certainty, who's going to be piloting the plane that crashes? It's going to be the female. So I've taught literally in Prague, Czech Republic. I've taught in Atlanta, in Indianapolis to large groups of advisors, just trying to stress to them the importance. And this article from Goldman Sachs just drives home the point, because if you are a female and you're working with one of the big box firms, that's the ones you see that advertise on sporting events on the weekend, they're going to probably be using the Monte Carlo model, which says you can take 4% of whatever you've got saved for retirement and you'll probably be safe.
Right.
probably be safe,
Which
okay?
which will if we take this amount, because I think it's always so important to put a monetary amount to it, let's assume that general rule of thumb of the 4% withdrawal rate with someone who has $50,000 in retirement. That means it's only going to provide $2,000 of income per year, and that doesn't even take the taxes into consideration either that are going to be coming out of most people's retirement savings.
Oh, but Kristen, we still have Social Security, but there's a problem there as well.
Mhm.
Women on the average receive 22% less in Social Security.
Yep.
So you're starting off with your, we used to call it in sports when you would start by backing up to take off, that you put your foot in the bucket. You're starting off by putting your foot in the bucket by having 22% less Social Security. And
Mhm.
if the 28% that are out there that have less than 50,000, you can draw 2,000 more a year from that. So,
Mhm.
this survey, 5,261 people responded, and they showed some of the problems. Another problem that females have, that women have, is they, as a whole, retire earlier than planned for many times unexpected reasons. Okay.
Mhm.
In the past month, I've had one of my clients who was planning on working until she was 67. I'm working with her right now to retool her retirement plan because she is retiring at 62. Why? Because she's got to stay at home and take care of her 69-year-old husband who's had some serious health issues.
Mm,
So she's
mhm.
retired not because she needs to retire, but that topping off period of really being able to make great income, she's had to say, okay, I can't make that income for another 5 years. I've got to start drawing on my accounts rather than building into my accounts because I've got to take care of my husband. And it's not just that. Women sometimes have to take off, or they're the ones that it seems to that get chosen to take off and take care of elderly parents.
Yep.
And so there are all kinds of issues. We've talked before about the Generation X and the financial vortex
Yep.
of parents and kids and all kind of
All the
things hitting
competing
you.
financial priorities, in other words.
Right. I mean, if that is a category 1 hurricane for the Generation X, women are in a category 5 hurricane with all, because they've got all of those issues, plus they've got these issues. It's like a triple whammy. They've normally been paid less than they should have been paid all during these years. They have to take care of people, whether it's the husband or the parents or the children even.
Right?
And then the third thing comes along, and then you live longer. So the
Mhm.
good news is you don't have as much money. The bad news is you're going to live longer and longer and longer. So,
Yep.
raising awareness is one thing, but what are the things that you need to do when you're in this female vortex, let's call it, of
Mhm.
of retirement, where you're trying to pay off the credit card debt and you're trying to pay off the college and you're caring for family members and you've got all of these monthly expenses, and sometimes you find yourself alone if you're married, or if you're single, you're already alone. So,
Mhm.
there's some things you really need to focus on, and you need to get a plan in place. You know how you can get a plan in place? You can call us and you can set up a time and you say, "Yeah, you're hitting on all of the things that I am." Before you even go in to tell me some of the solutions, I need some help. Kristen, tell them how they can reach out to help us.
Yes, if you call 888-930-5609, you'll be able to set up an appointment, and this is free of charge for no cost, no charge, no obligation. One of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management will be able to meet with you, sit down with you, and begin building your very own complimentary retirement blueprint that can address all these different issues that we're talking about. And Tom, I know you have so many wonderful stories of women in particular. I mean, you've been able to help thousands of people over the last almost 30 years, but I've always enjoyed hearing the stories of when you've had a woman come in who's maybe just been through a divorce, or like the woman who had the question last week of she only has $50,000. You're still able to create strategies that literally can help transform people's financial lives for the better. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's remove the 50,000. About 3 months ago, I had a lady came in. She was very quiet, very, very meek lady, very sweet lady, and she said, "I have nothing, and I just
Mm,
turned 50." And you begin to gently probe about why do you have nothing? Is it a
Mhm.
divorce situation? Is it a health situation? And she said, I left my job 14 years ago when I was 36 years of age, and I cared for my two elderly and dying parents. And my mom passed away 3 years ago, and my dad passed away last month. Now I'm ready to go to work, and I'm
Mhm.
behind the eight ball. I don't
Mhm.
think she used that term, but that's what she was saying. And
Right.
she said, I need a plan. So we began to put together a plan. And if you're out there and you need to call in and sit down with us, you say, I don't have anything. That doesn't matter. We will sit down with you and we will help you develop a plan. Okay. And you need to get this plan in place. Now, one of the things you need to realize, and I'm going to pull a man's illustration here. I understand that. But if you're behind in a baseball game, or you're behind in a football game or a basketball game or any kind of game, if you're behind in the game and you find yourself sometimes behind in the financial game, you sometimes need to be more aggressive. You need to run the plays a little faster. You need to shoot for 3 points rather than 2 points in basketball. And you need to throw the ball deep in football. And you need to get ready to say, okay, I'm going to work as hard as I can. You might need to plan to work a little bit longer, and I'm going to get involved in a 401k or an IRA. And you might need to be more aggressive because you are behind in the game. You might need to be more aggressive in your investments because given 20 years from 50 to 70 is what we're working on with this lady. From 50 to 70, we say, okay, you need to develop in your mindset you're going to work until you're 70 if you can. And you need to be very aggressive, and you need to put all of your energy and all of your efforts into saving every penny you can. Several things will happen. Your Social Security's low if you've taken 14 years off in the middle of your of your of your
Working
years
career.
of
Yeah.
your working career. So build that Social Security, save in those IRAs or 401ks, and plan to work as long as you can, and save money even outside of the IRAs and the 401ks, and you're behind. So that's what you've got to do as a plan, and you got to put them in the right place. We can help you. If you're out there and you say, I identify with that, I don't have 0 and I don't have 50, but I don't have enough, then you need to contact us because we would love to help you.
And that's the important thing for you to know and understand is that you're not alone. And we know that this can often feel very overwhelming, but it's amazing how just putting little strategies, making little tweaks to your plan can make a huge difference. And so if you would like some help building your complimentary retirement blueprint, again, that number to call is 888-930-5609. This is for no cost. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how the team of Mosley Wealth Management can help and serve you. Stay with us. We have more to cover on today's show right after this.
More Right on the Money with Tom Mosley right after this. Get your own no-cost retirement plan review at 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Are you worried that you waited too late to start your retirement planning? That you waited too late to start saving? At Mosley Wealth Management, we believe it's never too late to start planning for your future. We can help you develop a personalized retirement plan that is tailored to your current needs and goals. The team at Mosley Wealth Management will sit down with you and provide an evaluation of your current path, including your investment strategy, tax planning, and risk management approach. We'll help you identify potential areas for improvement and work with you to create a retirement plan that is designed to help you work towards having financial security and peace of mind in retirement. It's not too late for you to get started with Mosley Wealth Management. Call us today to schedule your complimentary retirement planning session. We believe we can help you get on the path to financial security and peace of mind in retirement. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management to get started on your own complimentary retirement blueprint. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. And Tom, I really appreciate that we were able to spend that whole first segment talking really specifically about financial planning for women, because you and I have been preaching from the rooftops for years about the importance of financial planning for women in particular. Like it or not, women just need to engage in more financial planning than men due to that triple whammy you talked about. Typically, we've been paid less, we've had more time out of the workforce, and then on top of that, we're living longer than men. And so that really accounts for more financial planning. But we don't want to leave the men out of this conversation, do we?
No, because like 40 in this survey, they showed that 43% of the women who were interviewed felt like they were behind. But in the survey, they also surveyed men for a comparison, and they found out that 3 out of 10 men still feel like they're behind. So don't
Mhm.
feel like if you're crying about that first segment, guys out there, because I didn't address men, instead, get over it, because we do help single men a lot as well. And I know the stats that show that women pass away and they live longer, and men pass away sooner than women. But I have worked with a lot of men who've lost their spouse and lost their wife.
Mm.
And so no matter where you are, if you have $50,000 or less for retirement and you've still got some working years, you need to get a plan more than somebody who has $5 million sometimes,
Mhm.
because they can make a $500,000 mistake and still have 4.5 million. But if you have 50,000 and you make a $50,000 mistake, you're down to zero. So it's
Mhm.
important for you to get financial help. In fact, there's so much stuff in this Goldman Sachs survey. They showed that there are some people, like 17% of the people, when they're in a situation like that, they are risk oriented. They're afraid, and so they're like a
Mhm.
turtle. They pull in all the legs and the head, and they just go into their shell and say, I'm going to be broke the rest of my life. And I'll tell you what's going to happen to them. They're going to be broke the rest of their life.
Mhm.
That's just all there's going to be. There's no hope for those. But 23% of the people are seeking financial help. Still not enough. But 23% of the people, 1 out of 4 of you who are sitting and saying, I've got 50,000, 1 out of 4 of you're intelligent enough to say, I need some help. Let me
Mhm.
get some help. And that's why we're doing the segment. That's why we do the show. That's why we're in business. That's why I've focused on women for the last 5 years and teaching other advisors why it's important for women to do financial planning even more so than men. And
Mhm.
I know, Kristen, you've got a built-in reason for focusing on women being of the species, okay? But
Yes.
but I have 5 children, and 4 of them are daughters.
Mhm.
And I have, every time I teach on this, every time I talk on this, 20 times in the first segment of this show, at least, I've thought of one of my daughters and some things we've done to help them. And I'm so proud of all 4 of my daughters. And I'm going to tell you, the 3 who are married are all the breadwinners of their family. They're all
Mhm.
in a position, because I want to think I had a little bit to do with that. They've been able to say, okay, I know in life money is not everything, but it's essential. And
Mhm.
they have gone about in having careers and having jobs and saving money in such a way that they're the leaders of their family and earning money. And I'm very proud of that.
And you absolutely should be. And I think there's that shift that's changing. I think the other interesting thing to note, and the survey highlighted it, was that it's important for us to focus on this because the balance of wealth is really shifting, especially with women living longer. Women are becoming the primary wealth holders, and that's estimated within the next decade that this is going to happen. Part of that's with the great wealth transfer that's going on. We know that $84 trillion is estimated to pass from the baby boomer generation on down, and women are becoming such a powerful force. They're going to be managing the bulk of the wealth, and everyone needs to be prepared for that.
They really do. You talk about stories. One just popped into my mind from about 10 years ago. Okay, I'm sitting down with this couple. I was out in an office we had in Chino at that time. And I'm talking to this couple, and I'm get to the point of we're uncovering their assets and where they are and how much they have. And the guy's the real talker. The wife is really quiet. And the guy's talking and talking and talking. And I get to investments, and he says, "Oh, I've always been the risk taker. I've made a lot of money and taken a lot of risk, and it's really generally done pretty well for me. And I'm a little down right now, but it's done pretty well for me." And he's blowing off about how much risk he's always taken. And she finally speaks up very meekly and says, "I've always been very conservative, and I've
Mm,
always taken care of my money and just put it in really solid places. And I've worked with a financial planner before this." And so we start uncovering assets, and she has $758,000 that she's put away, being very conservative, not
mm,
making much money, not being very risky. And we get over to his, and I say, "Dennis, how much is in your 401k?" And he says, "Well, I'm down right now. I've only got $28,000." So,
mm.
the guy who's the risk taker, knows everything about finance, wants to ask all the questions, has got $28,000, and the very quiet, meek lady who's conservative, worked with a financial planner, has $758,000. So it's not
Mhm.
always the person that's talking about what they have and what they've saved and what they've done that's on top.
Right.
Sometimes it just takes a constant, steady putting away money, putting it away the right way with a good solid plan, and you'll find out you could make yourself easily a millionaire over a period of time by doing it that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, just there's such small tweaks that can be made with someone's plan. I think of the other woman that came in recently that you've shared about on the show previously, who had just been through a horrible divorce, was starting over from ground zero, literally. And what was it? Within 7 years or 10 years, she was her whole financial future had changed, but it was a result of working with you, working with your team, working with experts who do this day in and day out. The point is, you don't have to go this alone. There are people who are ready and willing to help you, that you can trust are going to have your best interest at heart, who are held to that fiduciary standard. They have a legal obligation to always serve your best interest. They can help you put a plan in place that is going to serve you. So again, if you would like to get your complimentary retirement blueprint, have a solid plan in place, all you need to do is call 888-930-5609. Well, Tom, anything else that you want to wrap up on this important conversation of financial planning specifically for women today?
No, just I would say that the financial retirement blueprints that we put together for people are asexual. You can do it if you're a male or if you're a female. We've talked on this show about the female aspect and the particular needs there, but men, you need one as well. You need one just alike. Married people, you need a financial plan, but it's just particularly imperative that women really prepare for retirement because of all of the issues.
Absolutely. Well, we want to move on now and talk about another survey that I think will really hit home on a lot of these points and bring up some new tips for folks. This came from Go Banking Rates, and the title was 7 Tips to Retire Comfortably with Just $500,000 in Savings. And I know, Tom, you want to share and shed a little bit of light on this article before we dive in.
The first question that we ask people when they sit down in our offices, and folks, if you're wondering where our offices are, they're sprinkled out all over Southern California, from down in the San Diego area all the way up to the Glendale, Sherman Oaks area, and all the way out to Ontario. Our main office is in Anaheim, where I am right now. And if you want to come in and see one of our 6 all-star advisors, the first question we're going to ask you is, what's the major reason you've come in today to talk to us? And the number one question or answer that people have is, we want to know, can we retire? Now,
Hmm.
let me expand on that. It means, can we afford to retire? Which means, will we run out of income
Right.
if we retire?
I mean, really, at the root of it is, am I going to be okay? Right.
Am I am I
If we
going to
had to
be
boil it
okay?
down. Yeah.
Right. And I told the story last week, but it's so true. A couple of weeks ago, it's so true of so many people. One of my happily contented clients who's been with me about 8 years, and they've got a reasonable amount of money. They've got about, as I recall, a little over $1 million in their portfolios and their different things that we've got them set up with. And they've been traveling, they've been doing things, and they're telling me about a friend they're trying to get to come in and talk to me. And they're saying, this friend has far more money than we do, but they've left it all invested in the market. Man, the buzzer goes off. What does that mean? That means that they really don't have a plan. They've just got a hope strategy. They leave it all
Mhm.
in the market, hope the market doesn't bite them on the way down when it does go down, and hope they don't run out of money before they die. They don't have a plan. And they were telling me about this couple that very good friends. They say every time we go somewhere on an overseas trip, we always invite them to go with us to Europe. We've invited them to go with us to Australia. And they just keep saying, well, we're not sure whether we're gonna run out of money. And they're in their 60s right now, and they're not sure they're gonna run out of money when they're 85. That's what a plan means. A plan means I know I'm going to have enough income for the rest of my life. So people say, can I retire? Can I afford to retire? Well, I'll run out of income. And one thing they don't think about is what we've already talked about today. After one spouse is gone, will the surviving spouse have enough income? So all of those things are crucial. And the reason we say, retiring comfortably with $500,000 is many times that's enough to do it. You see, there's three kinds of people as I set this segment up that we'll come back with for the third segment of the show here today. But there's people who have more money than they'll ever need. But sometimes they don't have a plan, so they don't know that they have more money than they'll ever need.
Right.
There's some people, like we talked about the lady in the first segment or the ladies who have less than $50,000 saved for retirement. They have far less than they'll really need. But then those people in the middle that have 500, 700, 700,000, $1 million, 1.2, and they still have a mortgage, they still have a home equity line of credit, student loan debt. Those are the ones that are, hey, what do I do here? Can I retire comfortably on 500, 700, 800,000? Stick with us when we come back. That's exactly what we're going to address in the last and then third segment of the show.
Absolutely. Because Tom, as we always say on the show, it's not about your lump sum, it's about your income. And I love that you're setting this up to say, you know what, if you only have $500,000, you might still be okay, right? If you have a solid plan in place, it is perfectly possible for you to still have the retirement of your dreams. But it starts with having a solid plan in place. So we encourage you to claim your complimentary retirement blueprint. Again, that number to call is 888-930-5609. We'll be back with Right on the Money right after this.
Which will you spend more money on in retirement? Food or healthcare? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? How do you know if you've saved enough to stay retired? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? How do you produce income from your nest egg to fight costs like taxes and inflation? At Mosley Wealth Management, Tom Mosley and the team take the guessing out of retirement planning by devising a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, are you going to be okay in retirement? Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. Income, investments, Social Security, Medicare, longevity, health care. We cover these solutions and all of those other questions on your mind to answer, are you going to be okay in retirement? Call Tom Mosley and Mosley Wealth Management for your own complimentary retirement review, 888-930-5609.
Will you outlive your money? It's a scary thought, but it's a real concern for many people. In our opinion, that's why it's crucial to have a solid retirement plan in place. We believe that with proper planning, you can work towards making your money last as long as you do. Don't wait until it's too late to start thinking about your financial future. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management today to learn how we can help you create a retirement plan that can potentially help you obtain peace of mind and security for years to come. Don't let the fear of running out of money in retirement keep you up at night. Take control of your financial future today by calling 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management, and I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. We are talking now about the 7 tips to retire comfortably, even if you only have $500,000 in savings. Well, Tom, are you ready to dive into these 7 tips to retire comfortably with just $500,000?
I'm in the starting block. Just feed them to me.
All right. So first up on the list is no winging it.
Well, it's not guesswork. I mean, you got to deal with your expenses, with your income, with what kind of benefits you're going to get. Either you're going to take out of your company, with what the government's going to give you through Social Security. You've got to deal with health care. All of those are serious issues, okay? And you need to put that into a plan. And to do that, it's not what people come in so many times, Kristen, and I know they're not serious. And please, if you're not serious, the only people we can't help are the people where we're more concerned about your financial future than you are,
Mm,
okay? And
mhm.
and some of you give evidence of that because you never call us. You say, "I know I need to do that, but I never do." Well, pick up the phone and call us, okay? Because the people we can't help, if we're more concerned to get something together for you. So don't just say, "Well, I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna just take it as it comes." No, this stuff will kill you financially if you're not careful. It'll take your money that you do have away from you if you're not careful in taxes and other things. You need to do more than wing it.
Absolutely. And I love that that ties right into tip number two. It's almost like this article has been listening to this show because number two is develop a formal strategy. And that's why you offer a complimentary written plan.
Yeah, we call it a retirement blueprint. We will start from scratch and put one together, and it'll touch on those things. It'll touch on income, inflation, investments, taxes, healthcare, even where you're going to leave it, how you're going to leave it, to whom are you going to leave it. It takes the guesswork out of it because you don't wing it, but more than just not winging it. Like one guy told his wife in my conference room one time, she kept pressing him. I'll call him George and Myrtle. George, do we have a written plan? George, yes, we do. George, do we have a written plan? Yes, we do. And she finally just got frustrated and said, "Well, where is it?" And he
Mhm.
pointed up to his temples and he said, "It's all up here." In other
Mm.
words, it was all in his head. He was just winging it. And she had a great line. She said, "Well, what happens when I put everything that's up there 6 feet under there?" And she pointed down to the ground.
Gosh.
And that's what happens is that
Hmm.
if you're married, your surviving spouse needs the written plan to know where everything is and how everything's put together. If you're single, your children or your heirs need a written plan to know where to take care of things and where to go for things and to keep things out of probate because the wealth that you've managed and put together, it needs to be passed on to somebody else or to even a concern that you have or a 501(c)(3) charitable organization that you like. It needs to go to someone besides the government. So you
Hmm.
need to develop a formal strategy, not just guesswork.
And I would argue it's one of the most loving things that you can ever do for those that you love is having a solid written plan where everyone knows where it is and what's going on. So can't
I
stress
spent
that enough.
I spent an hour this week with a couple. Actually, it was about an hour and a half with a couple that her mom's still alive, but she has dementia and she's totally incapacitated.
Mm,
And she has 32 different assets. The only asset she doesn't have is a written plan. The only other asset she doesn't have is a trust. So
mm,
all of that property, all of those
mm,
things have got to go through probate. That's what we
mhm.
finally, after 3 meetings, we've gotten it down to she's got to go through probate with all of that stuff that her mom has to get it titled the right way, moved the right way. You need a formal strategy.
Yep, absolutely. Well, moving on this list, the next one, tip number three is consider delaying Social Security. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, we talked about the premise that if you have $500,000, well, let's start making what we have as the best we can make it. And the best you can make Social Security, if you're not sure you have enough money for retirement, plan on working a little longer. The longer the better that you work. The longer you work, you save more. You're able to build your Social Security a little bit more. Maybe you're making really good money and you're able to put more money in a 401(k). So by delaying Social Security, you get more. I
Mhm.
mean, they talk about sometimes Social Security maximization is the big word. I don't like the word maximization because anybody can look at the numbers and say if you don't turn it on until you're 70, you'll maximize it, okay? But what if you need the money when you're 64? And I've got other illustrations on that. But the more you delay means the more you build, the longer you build your Social Security, the less you tap whatever reserves you have out of that 500,000 because now you're getting your income from work rather than drawing from your assets. So, yeah, delay that Social Security work as long as you can.
For sure. Well, next up on the list, number 4, learn about Medicare. And this one is, I think, one that folks often don't always think through thoroughly. Am I right?
Well, Medicare is confusing. It
Mm-hmm.
very much is, but yet I've developed a plan. I've actually been hired before to teach other Medicare advisors how to explain Medicare in a simple way. I used to be a pastor and I used to be a youth camp speaker. And believe you me, you've got to talk to people where they are and be real simple and straightforward when you do those kind of things. Medicare, you need to learn about it, but you need to understand. Here's the biggest mistake. Let me talk about that. People get Part A and Part B. And I had a couple in my office last week, and we were signing them up for Medicare supplement, a Medicare supplement, which is a plan that covers, it's like a PPO that covers the gaps that Medicare doesn't cover. And they said, well, one of our friends said they've got original Medicare Part A and Part B. They don't need anything else. Well, you know what? Part A and Part B covers 80%. You need a supplement, which is like a PPO, or an advantage, which is like an HMO, to cover the other 20%. Medicare's pretty good when you do that. But if
Mm-hmm.
you don't get a supplement or Medicare Advantage, you are automatically extending yourself to pay 20% of any doctor bill, hospital bill, pharmacy bill, any kind of bill you talk about when it comes to medical, if you don't really learn about Medicare and understand it.
Yeah. And also, not to go down a rabbit hole, but if you don't sign up for Part D, you could get penalized. There's penalties at play. You could pay more than you need to be paying if you don't incorporate this as part of your overall plan.
Yeah, you know what? We said there's 7 things. Let me touch on the last 3, okay? You need to pay off your debt. Not paying off your debt and entering into retirement, if you've got a chance to work an extra year and get all of your debt paid off, particularly if you've got a chance to pay off the mortgage, keep doing it. People who are running that race in retirement run it without any weight strapped to their back. Number 6 would be keep working. We've already touched on that. Maybe even think about doing some part-time work. And number 7 is be opportunistic. You don't necessarily have to spend all the things that you've spent. I think about people who trade cars every 2 years just so they can still smell the fresh leather, and
Mhm.
and you don't have to do that in retirement. That's not necessary. And you need to look at your budget. What are the excessive things that we're spending? And can we cut down on some things? I'm not talking about scraping or sacrificing. I'm talking about just making smart decisions. Can you retire on $500,000? Maybe. You need a plan. You need to put it into place, but there's some smart things you need to do. That's what we offer you, the guidance to help you do that in building your own personal retirement blueprint.
And you will do just that for anyone who calls in this weekend. Here's the deal. We will put a plan in your hands. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call 888-930-5609 to schedule a time to come in and meet with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management so that they can build your own personalized, customized retirement blueprint for you. Stay with us. When we come back, it's going to be time to answer some listener questions, and who knows, we might even be answering yours. Stay with us.
Can you remember how different life was when you were 10 years old and 20 years old and 30 years old? You could be retired for 30 years or more as well. Imagine the different stages you will experience in a long retirement. One of the biggest concerns for most retirees is running out of money in retirement. If you've never planned for decades worth of income spending from your investments, savings, Social Security, and other resources, you don't want to get it wrong. Actively plan for a successful retirement by working together with a financial advisor whose practice designs these retirement income strategies every day in their firm. Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management devises retirement income strategies for listeners just like you, and it's complimentary to get started. Call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management and ask for your own complimentary retirement income strategy. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and it's that time of the week where we get to answer your questions. Now, these are all real questions that have come in recently, either from our radio listeners or from folks who have come in to meet with one of the advisors at 𝗪𝗟 Wealth Management. They've heard us on the show, they've watched the television show, they've picked up the phone and called and said, yes, I want the team to build me a complimentary retirement blueprint, have come in and had some really good questions. And so we love to be able to answer these questions because we know that if someone else is asking them, you probably have these questions as well, and know that we do change the names to protect privacy. So if you have a question that you would like to submit, we invite you to email your question to info@mosleywealthmanagement.com. Again, that's info@mosley wealthmanagement.com. Our first question this weekend comes from Brett in Carlsbad. He said, I'm 65 years old and have no retirement savings. I'm only going to have Social Security benefits. How can I begin saving and investing at this point in my life?
You can go back and listen to the first part of the show because we basically talked about this exact same thing, Brett. But it just goes to show, even people who are responding are saying, we're not prepared. And if you're not prepared, for goodness sakes, get help. Brett, here's what I would tell you to do. You're 65. Now, you can read all kind of articles on the internet about 65 is not necessarily the stopping point of work. And you can also read articles about how that 43% of the people who are in their 70s still have some kind of employment. So unless you've got your house paid off and you've got a big garden out in the backyard that you grow most of what you eat, you're likely going to need more than just your Social Security benefits. So how do we develop a plan for that, Brett? Here's what I would tell you to do. Work as much as you can and as long as you can without wearing yourself out. Number two, of the money that you make, save as much as you can. Put away some money. I don't know what has been in your life that you've not been able to save and invest to this point in your life, as you say, but it's time to start. It's time to start making some kind of sacrifices to get those things done. Number three would be, you're only going to have Social Security, is what you said in the question. It leads me to believe that you've not turned it on yet. Don't turn it on until you're 70 if you can. Now, if you need the money and you're going to starve, you've got to go turn it on. But allow that Social Security to grow as much as you can. So adjust your budget, do those kind of things, try to save as much as you can, let that Social Security grow, work really hard, really well. If you're not on Medicare, or if you're not on a plan where you are working, you need to get on Medicare so that, you're trying to save all this money on the one hand, you don't have the right kind of health coverage on another hand, and that just takes all the money that you've saved because you have to pay doctor bills and hospital bills. So there's a lot of things that you can do, Brett. No, you don't have a lot of money, but you've got a lot of issues, and there are a lot of ways out of your situation if you'll just look for them and build a plan.
And I think that just really sums up so much of what we've been talking about today, that it all starts with having a plan. And again, even though it's never too early to get started, it's also never too late to get started. But the key is to get started and have a plan in place. I think, Tom, too, of someone who's age 65, they could easily live another 30 years. A lot can happen in 30 years when you have a plan in place and put your money to work for you. So, Brett, thank you for the question, and we look forward to being able to help and serve you.
Kristin, let me say something on that. Everybody listening to me in Southern California, you probably know where San Clemente is. If you wanted to get to San Clemente, the first thing you would have to do is not know everything about San Clemente, not know how much it'll cost you when you get to San Clemente. If you want to get to San Clemente, the first thing you've got to do is find out where you are right now. And everybody listening to me, some of you are listening to me and you're in El Cajon in San Diego County. Some of you are in Santa Clarita up in northern LA County. Some of you are listening to me in Santa Barbara. I've even had people call me and say, I'm listening to you in Blythe. So the first thing you would need to do if you want to get to San Clemente is you'd have to know where you are right now. And all of us want to get to retirement. That's the purpose of this show. A great retirement, a good retirement, the best retirement we can make out of it. So the first thing you need to know is where you are right now, not in Southern California, but in your financial life. And that's what retirement planning does. It takes you from where you are right now and takes you to San Clemente, or takes you to that retirement that you want. That's what we offer.
Absolutely. Well, moving on, our next question this weekend comes from Megan in West LA. She said, "My husband and I both recently retired. We believe we have a good enough nest egg at around 2.1 million, but we're just not sure. I want to travel and enjoy what I hear you call the go-go years right now, but my husband is fearful of what a huge downturn in the economy could do to our financial future since we are still heavily invested in the stock market. What should we do?"
Wow, it all goes back to a plan. You need a
Mhm.
plan that's well diversified. So many people have been so successful, like it appears, Megan, that you have with your husband in saving for retirement. 2.1 million is generally a very nice sum. You can have a lot of security in the amount of money that you have. But if you've experienced 40 years of the ups and downs and the ups and ups and ups and downs and downs and ups and ups, you know what I'm saying, with the market, you still have that roller coaster effect in your financial stomach. And you say, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if we go through a downturn like in 2008, where we lost 54% in the market and we're invested in the market. I'm not sure if this 2.1 gets to $900,000 if we're able to make it. And you
Mhm.
know what? You may be absolutely right. And that's what we mean by not having a plan, that instead of just leaving it in the market, leaving it in a lumber yard that you've created, building a financial house. And that house is made up of different elements: income. It addresses inflation. It does address your investments. It addresses your taxes. How much of that 2.1 million, Megan, still has to be taxed? Okay.
Mhm.
Your health care. How much is health care going to cost the two of you before you're both gone from this earth? And then who are you going to leave what's left to? That's your legacy. So rather than just having a plan, you know, people come in so many times, Kristin, and they drop a statement on my conference room table when they come in to see us and they say, here's my financial plan. That's not a financial plan. That's a retirement account, not a retirement plan. A
Mhm.
retirement plan addresses the issues you're going to have financially into retirement. Megan, to give you that kind of contentment, you're going to need to come in and get a financial plan. Your husband's going to need to see it. And once he sees that, then he's going to be willing to go and enjoy, when he's in his 60s, the money that he's prepared and that he's put in the right places, so he knows he's not going to run out of money when he's 85. That's what a financial plan will do for you.
Absolutely. It can really provide such a peace of mind of knowing, okay, we can go ahead and spend this money while we're still well enough and able to travel and know that we're going to be okay. Because once you see it written down and you can see that you're not going to outlive your money and you have strategies in place to make sure that that income will be there for you, there's nothing like it. And I know that is what you love, Tom, is when folks come in, sit down, you're able to deliver that plan and then that sigh of relief across the conference table that comes from them, right?
My why is the sigh. Why am I still doing this? And why will I do this probably the last day I'm ever able to on this earth? I love helping people who are all concerned about the last 20 to 30 years of their life, and are they going to run out of money? And the fear, it's the biggest fear of people 58 years of age and older. I love when they sit across the conference room table, we put that plan in place, and they give me this big when all the pressure's taken off and they know they've got a plan in place. Megan, your situation and your question fits exactly into why I do what I do.
I love that so much. Well, I think we have time for one more question at least this weekend. So next up, we have Brad in Scripps Ranch. Brad said, I have a will and a power of attorney. I have a sizable net worth and no debt. I've read about trusts. However, I'm still unsure of the benefits and drawbacks of creating one. Do I need to consider a trust, or will the power of attorney and will suffice to get my assets to my children?
Okay, Brad, let me make one thing perfectly clear, to steal a phrase I hear from politicians all the time. Your assets will eventually go to your children. What a trust might do for you, depending on your situation, and you need to talk to a trust attorney on this. That's a one off. I know a lot about that, but I'm not legally prepared to give you any advice, particularly on whether you need a trust or not. Do you have a house? Do you have non qualified assets that will go through probate? Because probate will get everything to your children, just like a trust will, but probate will take 4, 5, 6% of that to pay the probate court, the probate judge, the probate lawyer, to do all of the advertisings in the paper and things like that. That's what a trust might do for you if you have the right kind of assets. Call us. We can refer you to our attorney that we refer people to. He's done a great job for years. Hey, listen, thanks for listening to the show. Let me wrap it up just a little bit. So much of what we do, whether you're a lady out there who's all alone, or whether you're a lady out there who may at the end of your life be all alone, you need a financial plan. If you have 500,000, 800,000, 1.2 million, and you're concerned whether you have enough money to retire or not, you need a plan. You need to diversify. Megan, you have 2.1 million in your question that we answered earlier. You need a plan so you can enjoy your retirement, okay? There's all kinds of reasons to need a plan. One is as close as your phone. You just got to pick up the number and call us, get on the schedule of one of our 6 all-star advisors, 5 offices spread all over Southern California. We look forward to seeing you in our office. Claim your appointment right now.
Well, and Tom, I look forward to having more opportunities for folks to come in and meet with you and for that sigh to happen, as you talked about, right? That sigh, that sense of relief of knowing that you can have the peace of mind that you're going to be okay in retirement, no matter how much you currently have. The key is to start and to get that solid plan in place. So again, to claim your complimentary retirement blueprint from the team of Mosley Wealth Management, all you need to do is call 888-930-5609. Hey, thanks so much for joining us this weekend. We appreciate you being here. Until next time, be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you here at Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Tom Mosley and the team have helped thousands of folks like you in Southern California plan for their retirement. Now make the call yourself. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial Services.